Gilbo here at JGilbo11, taking a look at pitching for tonight's 15-game slate. For 15 games, there's a lot of pay-up options to go with. I'm not really in love with any of the extremely cheap guys. There's one in particular that I'm looking at. Mid-range really isn't all that thrilling. So kind of breaking down the top options here first, we'll take a look at Jacob deGrom, who's been absolutely phenomenal this season. Missing a ton of bats. If you want to look at probably the best pitcher going right now on tonight's slate, even with Arrieta, Carrasco, it's been deGrom so far. The 34.4% strikeout rate, 17.8% swing strike rate. Velocity in his fastball is sitting around 95, which is stellar. Hard contact is up a little bit when making contact, sitting at 35.6%, but no real concern for me there. Atlanta's been definitely better this season. There have not been a big pushover. Atlanta ranks 10th in WOBA and just a 19.6% swing strike rate. So it's certainly not like they're a team that is just a gimme. But with the way deGrom is pitching right now, against Atlanta earlier this year, I can see that type of potential again. 20+ DK points, getting 40+ on DraftKings. His only real bad start came against the Phillies, which is a concern, but he's been decent against Nationals. Double-digit strikeouts in each of the last 3 starts. I like this new swing and miss deGrom right now, and I like him against the Braves tonight, so I definitely don't mind using him. Jake Arrieta comes in at number 2 for me here, going up against the Phillies at home. Arrieta over 4 ERA this season, 1.31 whip, 1.86 home runs per 9. Fastball velocity sitting only at 92. Is missing bats, 11% swinging strike rate, 28% strikeout rate. Not walking a ton of guys, which is good to see. Hard contact's fairly average. BABIP sitting at 324. So overall, I think Arrieta is due for some improvement. But much like the Braves, Phillies are middle of the road in WOBA against righties. They do have some speed. You can steal an Arrieta. So I don't think it's just an automatic gimme, like I said with deGrom either. Look at those guys. I think they're the safest high floor options tonight. With that being said, I still think that they're the logical cash game guys. Even GPPs, you can look their way as well. But, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a couple runs or 3 earned go up against them, but them still come out with a win and decent outings. So, but with the Phillies, the strikeout rate's there, 23.7% against right-handed pitching, 16th in WOBA. So I like Arrieta as well. I think the first spin-off of those two I'd make is actually Carlos Carrasco, minus 157 road favorite there. Looking to get some decent run support with Matt Boyd on the other side of things. With Carrasco, Tigers offense, yes, certainly scary. 7th in WOBA against righties, 170 ISO, 45% our contact rate, 21.5% strikeout rate, so pretty average. You look at Carrasco, possibly could be without Miguel Cabrera tonight, which would be something. But you look at Carrasco, 27% strikeout rate, missing a lot of bats, velocity around 94, rolling decent amount of ground balls. He's been really solid not walking a ton of guys. This is where I like, the hard contact has just been at 21% this season, so Carrasco's been pretty good at limiting that. He's definitely a GPP guy because his Tigers offense is scary, but I do like Carrasco's coming out kind of that first pivot to make off of the two that were just mentioned, deGrom and Arrieta. Moving down the list, Drew Pomeranz. It's tricky with him tonight because Baltimore's going on. This will be the 3rd time they've faced him so far this season. Previous, they haven't had a ton of options or haven't had a ton of success against Pomeranz. Got to him a little bit. Pomeranz has allowed 5 home runs in his last 3 starts. Wind's blowing out a little bit. It's still a risky play. I think this is definitely one where if you're making multiple lineups, you can maybe roll out a couple Pomeranz because look at the Orioles. The strikeout rate obviously took a huge jump last night, but it's already been high. I believe it was 26% heading into last night against lefties. Now it's 27.2. Just a 134 ISO, 24th in WOBA against lefties this season. 34% hard contact rate, so it hasn't been bad there. So With Pomeranz, I think he comes out and he's not going to go terribly deep into the games. You got to hope that that curveball and off-speed stuff is really working. He can locate the fastball. But with that being said, he's definitely just a GPP guy for you to look at tonight, and really nothing more. This is where we kind of get past. I mean, past that, the Brewers-Cardinals game is going to be rained out. That takes two options that were possibly in play there, Wainwright and Chase Anderson. Not so much tonight. I will go down to Antonio Senzatella here, going on the road against the Padres. Obviously, Tyler Chatwood blew up last night, but we look at Senzatella, his only real struggles were against Washington at home. 7 hits, 3 walks, 1 home run, 4 earned over 6 innings. Not terrible. One had 1 strikeout, so I mean, limited damage. That's pretty much it for him. But other than that, I mean, has been 7 innings in 3 or 5 starts this season. Has been above 15 DK points, which is nice to see. Has been above 20 twice. Home runs really haven't been all that much of an issue outside of maybe 1 at home. As far as the strikeouts go, you can probably catch them around 5 or 6 tonight just because this Padres team strikes out a ton. They're 24th in WOBA, 26% strikeout rate. Senzatella, a good SB2 tonight. I'm definitely not afraid just because of Chatwood last night. I think Senzatella is certainly in play. Rockies small road favorites. And against Jared Weaver, I expect some run support there, even in Petco Park. I think Senzatella is just, he makes a lot of sense in comparison to some of these other guys who are in the mid-range. I mean, Nate Karns, Mike Pelfrey. I mean, Nate Karns stands a chance to have a decent outing at 6,800. Wind blowing in, but I'm not exactly thrilled. I know White Sox have been obviously far worse against righties. But for the most part, I mean, I think you just kind of look at Senzatella and kind of use him as the cheaper guy. Other than that, I think it is a pay-up night. There are some cheap bats you can look at, so I definitely don't mind going that route. So at the moment, I mean, it really is the top guys, Pomeranz and Senzatella, that the 5 I'm considering tonight. I can't get behind a lot of these other names. So that's going to wrap up things here. You can head over to fantasycafe.com, check out our great tools and content.